Alrighty, hello everyone, welcome to the first ever LSI F1 race watch-along. We've had a few practice sessions in the past, this season of course only. We've also had qualifying, but we've never done a race. I am the only one in the commentary box, I do apologise. I hope you can have patience with me. This is going to be a difficult one, but it's going to be a good one. 19 laps of Austin, Alex Albon in the pit lane starting this race, which is a hell of a shame, but they can only go up. That is the benefit, and it's going to be full send. There is another qualifying session later on, which we will be on for as well in the commentary box later on. So there is no worries about, well, I say crashing the car, taking risks. You don't want to crash the car because you've still got to try and qualify later on. Everyone is lining up on the grid, getting ready for the USA Grand Prix. Now, we're just waiting for the final few cars to get around the corners. They are going very, very, very slowly as they exit that final corner, which is an interesting one. But it is what it is. And then we'll wait for those lights to come on very shortly. And we'll go for the first ever race that I've ever commentated on for F1. And I'll do my absolute best. I've never screamed and shouted about the F1 drivers' names, but the lights are coming on. The green flag is waved. Ready? Hold! Go! Who's going to get it into turn one? Max Verstappen on the outside line. George Russell is going to be in the middle as the Ferraris to the outside now. The inside's available for Verstappen. No one is going to contest. It's going to be Lando Norris on the outside of the Mercedes driver, and they're going to get it done into the S section. Absolutely incredible. Max has got a little bit of a gap already, which is going to be interesting for later on. There's gravel kicked up in the background, side by side here with one of the Astons. I don't know the other racing ball that they were going side by side with, but Max Verstappen leads the way as they go through the first complex and into sector 2. The Haas is getting away well. Colapinto right there, side by side with, that will be Nico Hülkenberg and Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda almost making contact. Hülkenberg goes off the circuit. Yuki making that move ahead, or staying ahead of Kevin Magnussen, now tucking back into the slipstream of the other Haas. Hülkenberg can't do anything about it. We're going to see a defensive throw there from George Russell as Charles Leclerc dives to the inside line on the British driver, but the switcheroo is going to be available. They now have the inside line again. The traction will not be there, surely not. Still continuing. They're going to lose out to the cars ahead. This is not smart driving, but it's just about job done, I think, for George Russell to keep that position. Charles Leclerc is going to be furious, and we're not even at the end of the first lap of the Grand Prix. We are now. That is Charles Leclerc staying behind now. We didn't quite get to see what was going on with the racing ball of Yuki Tsunoda and Nico Hülkenberg, but they do actually, I say that's Kevin Magnussen, I do apologise. He actually didn't manage to make that move, had to back off and let that one go. But that was a pretty eventful first lap. Everybody trying to send it up front. The cars behind, we didn't get to see the action so much, but everyone is nice and close. More importantly for Alex Albon, he's right at the pack despite starting from the pit lane. So all that battling, all the close cars together, it's really helped them get very close. And I don't know why they started in the pit lane. It's an interesting one. Lap 2 out of 19. These are going very, very, very slowly as I've of course doing my first ever commentary for this. Don't know why I'm so nervous, but it's just different. I guess that's why it is the case. That is the two Ferraris, not far away from George Russell, but they're not exactly mega close, as Russell is going very, very quick, trying to catch up, but the top two are in a DRS train of their own. It's going to be the Ferraris going side by side on the second lap. DRS is available, as we should remember. It's going to be Leclerc getting ahead of Carlos Sainz, or was that a defensive throw? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I thought that was Carlos Sainz behind already. They're going to go once again side by side as they go through the double right-hander. It is going to be Carlos Sainz getting the position back. I do apologise from earlier on. I've got all the positions modelled up. I've got it all on my screen and I'm just not using it. But Charles Leclerc does get that job done for now and stays ahead of their teammate. But yeah, that was a good old battle we had between the two Ferraris. Charles Leclerc, of course, staying in the team. It's Carlos Sainz, all or nothing in Ferrari, and they've sent it once again. They're not going to get the exit. Charles Leclerc just once again getting the switchback. It's not really going to help them. They've only lost time to Russell. Russell's in no man's land right now. Only the opening stages. They are actually, I say that, pretty close to Lando Norris. Lando Norris incredibly close to Max Verstappen. Everybody could still possibly win this Grand Prix right now. Obviously, that's very clear to say, but the top kind of six, top six could possibly win this Grand Prix. We've only got one Red Bull and one McLaren in that battle. Of course, we've got Perez in P10 and Piastri in P14 having a very, very, very difficult start to this weekend with only one practice session, of course, with that sprint qualifying, but they'll get another chance in main qualifying later on, and we'll see what the McLaren can do. We've got another throw again from Carlos Sainz as they try and put more pressure on their teammate, but they didn't quite get it this time. Almost risked their front wing being lost, which would have been catastrophic. But as I said, Carlos Sainz is racing for themselves for the rest of this season, hoping to get a win. I think they were saying in an interview a couple of days ago for this Austin GP. Now, Charles Leclerc is concerned that they're losing too much time to the cars ahead. They don't want to be fighting. Obviously, that's easy to say when you are the car ahead out of the two teammates. Carlos Sainz still probably wants to get through, but they do back off this time, and they will try and maintain the gap on George Russell as they are incredibly close. There is a bit of a gap with Lewis Hamilton, who seems to be, having a bit of an up and down weekend so far. They were struggling, then they weren't, then they were struggling again. Well, now they're struggling again, I should say. Yeah, it's an interesting one there for Lewis Hamilton. They've got a lot of work to do. But Kevin Magnussen, Tsunoda and Hülkenberg getting a brilliant start, staying ahead of the Red Bull of Sergio Perez. Can they do that? I mean, they might have a good chance to do so, to be honest. Lap 4 out of 19. We've still got a long way in this Grand Prix to go. But with multiple cars in the DRS train, I don't think they're going to have that easy of a time to be able to make that move a little bit later on. Now, I'm just going to double check what the gap is. We can't really see it. So DRS isn't available for Hülkenberg, even though they look all so close together. It is fairly spread out. DRS is available for the top three. Charles Leclerc not quite got it, it seems, but Carlos Sainz, of course, is right close to the back of his teammate. They're so close, but just not close enough to get that rear wing open, which is a bit surprising to see on the feed, to be honest. But it is what it is. They need to push a little bit harder. They've not got a massive gap to find if they want to get that DRS. Has Charles Leclerc managed to get it done? I don't think they do, looking from it. No, they don't. They aren't able to get that rear wing open again. They're pushing like an absolute madman, but it won't be enough. They're just going to have to try and make this second sector count as much as possible. I say really it's kind of most of the first sector of the S section. That will definitely be a key part in this race. Verstappen's finding himself getting a bit of a gap, or should I say Lando Norris is dropping off a little bit as Russell is incredibly close to the back of that McLaren driver. No DRS for Lando Norris. Russell is going to have a clear shot of making P2, could possibly find themselves to fight for P1. Now this is very important because they've got two fairly quick Ferraris, so we'll see how that goes. Hamilton has decided he's going to pick up the pace and has closed up quite nicely right there. We've got cars back in the back, very, very close together. Sergio Perez almost coming together with Hülkenberg and Tsunoda up ahead. Will George Russell be going for that move into turn 12? I don't think they're going to have a chance. They're just going to sit behind, but it is going to be side by side yet again with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, and it is going to be Leclerc holding on for now, but they're continuing to fight. Carlos Sainz can see, and they're going for it once again. They've got the inside line. They're going to push their teammate off off all the way to the outside of the track. They're side by side through the double right-hander, and it just about becomes clean, and they get the job done. They're really making a statement right there. Carlos Sainz is not happy with sitting behind. They want to get it done, and they're going to now take that position. Leclerc's probably going to be told to back off, believe it or not. There's no way that they're going to lose more time to the cars ahead, who are incredibly close. Lando Norris and George Russell, of course, are going to be switching. I say that. We had Charles Leclerc once again very close to his teammate on the inside right there, very late, so wasn't actually going for the move, but was showing his wings, showing his nose to try and intimidate Carlos, which is never going to be easy. That was a risky manoeuvre, and I can assure you that the Ferrari team are going to be very, very nervous in this race. Frustrated? I don't know. They got the sponsors on the screen, but they are going to be incredibly nervous. Now, could we see a move here from George Russell very soon? Carlos Sainz seems motivated, not frustrated that they're fighting. He's looking to push now. We're going to get George Russell. Surely throw it to the inside line. They're closing massively. A defensive throw from Lando Norris. It's going to be the outside choice here for George Russell. Will they get the traction on the McLaren? Another defensive maneuver right there for Lando. They have to keep going to the inside line, and George Russell is just watching this happen, and he's going to have to drive accordingly. He's going to get possibly a good exit, but no, he goes for the outside line. That door is always going to close, and they will not find the opportunity later on into the lap. Possibly frustrated, they took a tighter line to the inside of the double right-hander, lost a bit of traction, and is going to have to try and rebuild that once again. But now that fighting moment has just brought both Ferraris nicely into this, and Carlos Sainz could possibly be locked in to that P4 spot. Now, McLaren are reporting that Verstappen could be damaging the tyres as they push and create this gap. I'm going to be honest, I think he's created most of his gap from the fighting that's happened just then behind. So, yeah, Verstappen can maybe start to relax. Not too much. 2.1 seconds isn't a massive margin that they have. They don't want to really be letting anyone be is complacent. Is that the right word? I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, we move on. And, yeah, Lando Norris, he has got a lot of work to do, a lot of pressure behind him. They really want to try and gain every point they possibly can. And if they get Max Verstappen, they're going to bring a whole lot of cars with them, because that DRS train is absolutely huge, and it's almost looking like a league race. It's looking like an esports race right now. We're not going to get anyone overtaking because they're all locked into DRS. Lewis Hamilton is half a second away trying to find this, and as these guys bunch up, if they can catch to Max Verstappen, then they're going to make him slower, and it's going to allow Lewis Hamilton to catch even more. Oscar Piastri moving up into P13 ahead of Pierre Gasly with that McLaren. Nice little chrome livery, look similar to what we saw back in Silverstone 2023, and they get the job done. No problems at all, and they will, I say that, yeah, P12. So it was ahead of Lance Stroll instead of Pierre Gasly. They've got a couple more positions if they want to try and get to that top 10, although the top 8 only score points. So right now, Hülkenberg, Magnussen are finishing off the point scoring positions. Of course, Hülkenberg is still being pressured right now from Yuki Tsunoda. So Perez is going to be looking to try and get that extra point as well. Other than that, we'll see how it goes. But if Perez can get P7, that is a brilliant result, because there's not really that much space on the grid, of course, for the top 4 teams who make up 8 cars. So yeah, P7 would be absolutely awesome there for Sergio Perez, considering their starting position. It's not an easy grid to be in. Of course, he's further down with some slower cars compared to what we usually expect, but it is a very competitive grid. That is the long and short of it. That's what you're going to see, and it is going to expose drivers' weaknesses and strengths. No questions asked. Now, we're not going to get any more overtakes. We are going to get Lewis Hamilton not catching, actually. They've lost half a second on that lap. So that will be maybe just down to the straight. We'll watch and see the delta as we go through the final sector and see how that changes. Fernando Alonso attempted and did overtake the Racing Bull of, that will be Liam Lawson. I say that, Liam Lawson got the switchback immediately, and Fernando Alonso is not very happy at all, and he's lost a position also to Ocon. So they were ahead. That was a little bit of a shindig that they all had. Fernando Alonso scared that they almost lost their front wing. And Liam Lawson taking a little trip to the grass patch as well. That's how Esteban Ocon managed to get through both of those cars right there. Now, once again, we want to watch the top pack. And Lewis Hamilton has lost another half a second in less than half a lap, really. So they are really struggling to be with this train. Now, George Russell pushed with all they could. They have lost DRS as well. So the Mercedes maybe not as quick as we thought. They were pretty quick at the start. They were even quicker after a couple of laps, but now they start to seem to drop off. Carlos Sainz is going to have a nice opportunity at making a move here on the Mercedes driver, and if they can make a move on their own, they don't need to worry about their teammate. Ideally for Ferrari, both Ferraris make that move in one go, but I don't think they're close enough, so Carlos Sainz has got a brilliant opportunity to get this done and secure that position over his teammate. But for now, he'll have to back off and let it happen, because he's not going to be close enough to make that move, and we'll just sit there in P4. Top three, of course, only separated by 1 point per position. He's going to send it to the inside, however, as we enter turn 15. Once again aggressive. They go off the circuit. Does George Russell? He's going to stick his nose into the inside line, but Carlos Sainz makes it work. I'm sure he's going to be complaining with that one, that he's been pushed off the circuit. Carlos Sainz is going to be very happy and has got to use this opportunity to try and catch up. I predicted before the race started that we could see a Ferrari win. It might be possible. We are around about, we're over the halfway mark of this Grand Prix now, but it's still going to be possible. We'll see how that goes. We've got Charles Leclerc trying to have a go on George Russell as well. It looks like the Mercedes have just completely bottomed out. They're not able to do anything about the Ferrari car. Charles Leclerc is mega close through the S section to the back of George Russell, but can't find a way through. And as this happens, Carlos Sainz will escape and will be able to break away nicely from his teammate and be all on his own. He can now focus on honing in on Lando Norris and maybe hope that they can catch up here to Max Verstappen. This is what I expected. I expected the Ferraris to be quicker. They were locked in behind the Mercedes car. Charles Leclerc isn't close enough to have a go at George Russell. They're going to have to try and give them the Carlos Sainz treatment, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. They have to try and push a little bit harder. We'll see how that goes. But George Russell actually gained a massive amount there on the straight and catches up nicely. Will we see an overtake attempt here from Charles Leclerc? We will get another one as they tried to replicate what their teammate did, and they did exactly that. Once again to the inside line. George Russell can't do anything about it, and both Ferraris have done replica moves. If you can do it, I can do it too, says Charles Leclerc to Carlos Sainz. Lap 10 onto lap 11. And that is move done from multiple cars, and poor George Russell's just been eaten alive. Lewis Hamilton is probably not going to be able to contest his teammate, but the Ferraris are absolutely flying at the moment. Now the question is, will they be able to catch up to the top two? The 2.2 seconds to Lando Norris, that's what they've got to really look at. 3.7 seconds to Max Verstappen. This is the gap that we have to watch, and Carlos Sainz has just gone purple. Well, he went purple in that last sector. This time Lando Norris has gone purple, so it is really pushing, trying to see if they can catch up a little bit more. In the meantime, we've got Piastri trying to make progress on this top 10 charge, of course. See if they can get there. It doesn't make a difference on their qualifying or starting position for the main race, because we have the qualifying session later on, so they can go full send or they can go not full send. But Oscar Piastri's actually got a 5-second time penalty. A 5-second time penalty for forcing another driver off circuit, forcing Gasly off the track, it looks like. That is pretty devastating to an already devastating weekend for Oscar Piastri. Not going to be happy with that one. In the meantime, though, lap 11 out of 19, we've not got long to go in this race, and we've got Carlos Sainz catching a little bit, it seems. Maybe catching some to Lando Norris, who doesn't have the best middle sector, but doesn't really catch at all and does actually lose time to Max Verstappen, the race leader. So it's all difficult stuff. It's all stuff that they've got to try and figure out for tomorrow's race, of course, as well. This is a little preview that they get to see. We've got Charles Leclerc going pretty quick, though, behind their teammate, and they've just lit up the times as they've gone for the fastest lap as well. So brilliant effort right here for Charles Leclerc. They really want to try and get back past their teammate and prove a point, of course, but really they need to focus on trying to get ahead of any of the cars up in front. Obviously, Carlos Sainz is racing for themselves, however, so they can just do whatever they want. And what a phenomenal move they did to get ahead of George Russell, both cars. Absolutely incredible stuff. It's aggressive, but would it be considered fair? I guess you kind of have to in Formula One. It's just the way they kind of drive, as he's shown the outside line, and yeah, George Russell just kind of not bullied off the circuit, but just had nothing he could do about it and just had to let them go. I assume nothing is going to be done for that situation, so it will just stay as it is. Lots of cars having lap times deleted from this race. I just double checked that, and we could see some people getting time penalties if they get too many track limit warnings. We've got an overtake attempt here from Sergio Perez, who is going to have a go right now on Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda tries to get the move. We've got also the McLaren in the background as well making that move. It is going to be P9 at the... Oh, it's not going to be P9 anymore for Sergio Perez as the Racing Bull tries to get back at him. The outside line for Sergio Perez, and the better traction will be available. That Racing Bull did everything they could, but will have to back off. They'll get DRS to come back again, but as they do this, Piastri, who's just got ahead of Colapinto, will now be able to catch up massively and might already even be in the DRS. Let's see how this one goes here. Will Yuki Tsunoda try and re-overtake Sergio Perez? It looks like they're getting pretty close. A defensive maneuver there from Sergio Perez. I don't think Yuki Tsunoda was even going to attempt going for the move. They lock up and they don't get that position after all, but Piastri will be nice and close and looking for that P9 as these guys fight. 4 seconds to Nico Hülkenberg. Haas are on for a double points position right here before the Grand Prix has even started, which is absolutely perfect for that team as they link up with Toyota. Their first race back with Toyota, and they're going to get a pretty good result, it looks like. Now, looking at the gaps between the front runners, it stays almost exactly the same to Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen. It closes in a little bit, of course, for Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris, however. So Lando has not been able to keep up that pace, despite doing a PB in the first sector on this lap. Carlos Sainz has also done that PB, and Leclerc is being brought along with Carlos Sainz. So it's all pretty difficult. That is going to be Oscar Piastri trying to have a go now at Yuki Tsunoda, as we expected to happen. The outside line here for Piastri, the switchback available, as we saw Sergio Perez do. They had the outside line, but Yuki Tsunoda's not really going to need to worry about it too much compared to last time, as they were so much further ahead. They could dictate the line and take a bit of a better racing line compared to last. So well done there for Yuki Tsunoda, but Oscar Piastri is going to be incredibly quick, and he's going to get that DRS as well, and will be going again. But it looks like track limits are treacherous for all of these cars in this race, and they're going to have to be careful. Oscar Piastri to the outside line of Yuki Tsunoda. Are they going to get the job done on the switchback that this circuit seems to promote massively? They're going to give it a shot. They'll have the outside line as they enter the S section, but on the exit of the S section, or I say that turn 2, they're not going to be given any opportunity. They could have lost their front wing if they didn't back out right there on Yuki Tsunoda, who holds on to that P10. No points, but still pride for being in that top 10 position, and maybe proving that they can compete in the top team, of course, of the Red Bull kind of academy. Will that be the case? I don't quite know. Now, lap 14 out of 19. And we're still battling further down the grid. Once again, Yuki Tsunoda trying to hold on to this position. As we'll see, Colapinto catch up massively and possibly be brought into the action. Oscar Piastri, they're going to have to try and find something on the brakes here. Will they go for the Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc maneuver to the inside? No, they still try and find it to the outside line to get the better traction on the switchback. They're still not going to get the traction. And that is Yuki Tsunoda not happy with the situation. I think they felt they were forced off or somewhere. But anyway, they've got to get on with it. Lap 15 out of 19. Not many more remaining of this Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri just can't get ahead of this racing bull, who is so quick at this stage of the Grand Prix. Just doing enough to keep that McLaren at bay, which seemed to be the quickest car before we went to this short break that we've just come back from. But it seems that they're maybe not as quick as we thought they would be. The Ferraris, once again, managing to kind of maintain the gap to Max Verstappen and still kind of maintaining the gap to Lando Norris this time around, maybe catching a little bit from where we last checked. Leclerc 8/10 behind their teammate, catches up a little bit on the straight, as Carlos Sainz doesn't have DRS, but they really need to focus on getting ahead of Lando Norris, because that is going to be their target, and I think they really can do that, to be honest. They've only got a few laps to do it, but I think they're just pacing themselves at this stage of the Grand Prix. If they're not, then Charles Leclerc will be going for that move on Carlos Sainz in the final laps of this Grand Prix as well. That's something to look at. And once again, we've got Oscar Piastri going wheel to wheel with the racing bull, but not being able to find a way. Will go for a very late send to the inside line, the corner before the Carlos Sainz corner. Will they send it to the inside this time? They're not, and they're just going to have to sit behind. They can't find a way through. Have they used all of their resources to get this done, or are they just saving up to then get this move done in one fell swoop a little bit later on? We'll see. Under investigation for leaving the track is Yuki Tsunoda. So that's what they were complaining about earlier on, of course, and they're hoping that they can get ahead. Is Oscar Piastri. If they don't, maybe if Yuki is to get a penalty post-race, then it could change their positions. We'll see how that one goes. But Oscar Piastri to the inside line on Yuki Tsunoda, and I think that might be it, as Oscar pushes him all the way to track limits and gives him a taste of what he thinks he deserves. Whether that's the case or not, I don't quite know. But he's got the job done, and hopefully these guys can settle their situation on track and no one will get a penalty. But that's Oscar Piastri to P10. And Perez is not going to be up next because it's lap 16 out of 19 and there's 4 seconds to the Mexican driver in P9. I think the top eight is going to be decided. It's just what order between I was going to say the 2 Ferraris and maybe Lando Norris, but look at Lewis Hamilton. I didn't check in on that one. Soon enough, Lewis Hamilton has caught massively to his teammate and might manage to find a way past. He's managed his race a little bit better, wasn't fighting up the front, didn't have to use their tyres, wanted to fight up the front, of course, though. Ended up just not being in the battle, basically, and yeah, he's managed to get some rewards later on. Of course, he didn't have the opportunity to fight for the top 3, which is the disadvantage. It's kind of a shoulda, woulda, coulda situation, but he is going to have the ability to get to that P5 spot after all of that. Max Verstappen's not got long left of this Grand Prix, and so far has managed it absolutely phenomenally. Textbook stuff. In the meantime, Carlos Sainz has just slightly off DRS range, almost close enough to have a go at making the move on Lando Norris, of course. And Leclerc is going to be pretty impatient. If they don't make that move or don't get that DRS, then they're going to have to start pushing their teammate and maybe going for the move on their teammate. The slingshot could be available. Carlos Sainz hasn't got DRS here. So we're going to see Charles Leclerc probably start pushing, as they've only got basically 2 laps of this Grand Prix remaining. You're not going to get an overtake done in this final section, not on your teammate. surely. That being said, these guys have been going absolutely mental throughout the entire Grand Prix, but looking at the gaps, they're not really close enough to have a go from as far back as they are. Now, the two Mercedes are going to be racing each other to the end of this Grand Prix. It's not going to be like a, hey, Russell, you were ahead for a while, so you're going to keep it. Lewis Hamilton has been told that they are allowed to race their teammate, and it is going to be probably a similar situation for the two Ferraris as they just have DRS now. Carlos Sainz has finally got it on Lando Norris, and Max Verstappen will not need to worry at all as these guys will start to fight each other. Verstappen's going to be able to cruise his way to the victory in the sprint race in Austin, which will be his first half victory for a very, very, very long time. Spain, they won the Spanish Grand Prix back in, I can't remember when that was, May? June, July? Anyway, we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the battles that we've got on circuit. We've actually maybe got a battle here with the two Haases as well. Now, down the main DRS straight, will we see Charles Leclerc try and pressurise their teammate? No, it's not going to be possible. Carlos Sainz, I do wonder what is going on here. Are they just not able to get as close as they want to on their teammate? Or are they trying to make this a little bit tactical? They're going to try and stay behind Lando Norris until that final lap and then push for it. Then they can get 2 positions ahead of their teammate effectively. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. Hamilton not happy with the radio messages that they're getting in the middle of the corners, and they really want to try and get ahead of Russell. Magnussen and Hülkenberg are going to have to settle this one as well. We've got Colapinto and Tsunoda who are going to be incredibly close. I say that, maybe that's just a bit of a timing situation. We'll see how that goes in a few moments' time. In the meantime, Max Verstappen starts the final lap of the sprint race here in Austin, COTA. Lando Norris is ahead, but it's going to be a defensive manoeuvre. He locks up the front left, and Carlos Sainz will go through. Is that a very, very lucky play right there from Lando Norris? He wouldn't have wanted to lock up the tyres, but he will have the ability to get the move once again on DRS, unless Lando Norris can't hold on to the back of that Ferrari car. The Ferrari is not going to have a lock-up on their front tyre. They're going to be good to go. I think they've just about got away with it, and they will get DRS. It could be a very, very tactical play here from Lando Norris. And will Charles Leclerc be able to get involved in any of this? I don't think so. I do not think so. Carlos Sainz has got everything to do. Lando Norris will be using all the energy they have left. Carlos Sainz trying to break the toe. In the meantime, Lando Norris is not going to send it to the inside line. They broke as late as they could. They've gone off the circuit. But Carlos Sainz will hold on. And we could see Charles Leclerc dive to the inside like they did earlier on George Russell. Will it be possible? Will they do it? They give it their best shot, but they lock up the rears and almost go into the back of the McLaren. That would have been absolutely incredible if that was to happen. But in the meantime, Max Verstappen marches his way to victory in Austin. What a performance there from the Red Bull driver. Carlos Sainz makes it a P2. Lando Norris stays ahead of Charles Leclerc to finish off in P3. A brilliant effort from Leclerc to try and get that job done. Russell will stay ahead of Hamilton as Hamilton wasn't able to get anywhere near in the end. They must have had a mistake. I don't know what happened. Magnussen will finish ahead of Hülkenberg, who wasn't able to better his teammate, and that is a phenomenal job there from Magnussen for Haas's home Grand Prix. Awesome stuff from the driver that won't be racing in Formula 1 next season. Perez crosses the line behind them. Piastri, we've got Tsunoda, who will be ahead of Colapinto unless they get a post-race penalty. It's going to be Stroll, then the 2 Alpines, then we will have Liam Lawson, followed by Alex Albon. Alonso will cross the line, and then the 2 Saubers will finish off this Grand Prix. But wow, wow, wow. That was a hell of a sprint race that was just boiling up all the way to the end there, and we managed to see it happen, of course. Unfortunately for Charles Leclerc, they didn't get it done. Lando Norris just did what they needed to do to get that position. An incredible job from all the drivers. And we'll be back later on for the qualifying session, and we will see who can really put it on pole. Will the two McLarens get a second chance and be able to put themselves in a better grid position to maybe make their race easier tomorrow? And will the longer race help them out? I think it definitely will. The McLaren seems to thrive in the longer races, whereas the Red Bulls, they really like to kind of sprint it out, and that is Charles Leclerc, who is not happy. Okay, so moving under braking, they're saying that that's what Lando did, and they're absolutely furious. So we could see an investigation between those guys. We'll have to make sure that we keep an eye on it, and we'll let you know for the qualifying session later on, of course. What a race we've had. We will be back later on. We're going to go and do the F1.5 race, so make sure you come and watch it. It's going to be a good one as well at COTA, and then we will be back later on at, that will be 11 p.m. BST, that is midnight CEST, for the USA Grand Prix qualifying session, full qualifying for an hour. That is going to be awesome. Again, we'll see you in a bit. Have a good one.